Hi, I'm Jay Diamond. I'm a love and intimacy coach, and I help stuck singles find their soulmate and great couples get juicy and reconnected again for true, authentic love and amazing intimacy. I'm really glad that you're with me tonight for Sex Life CPR. Tonight, we're going to talk about sexual blueprints. And it's going to be really great because you really need to know what your sexual blueprint is and what your partner's is, because we're not all wired the same when it comes to intimacy. So I'm just going to adjust very quickly the title on this. So I'm sorry about all the typing. And I'm just going to share this out. So if you're watching this and you're live, please do share the video. Let me know where you're watching from, and if you are on the replay, then just hashtag replay. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about the 5 main sexual blueprints, why it's important to know them. As a love and intimacy coach, one of the big things I come across from clients and even people who are following me and have been watching my videos, big questions that I get is around communication, and it's often around the styles of intimacy that a couple have, and often those styles of intimacy are quite different, as in they want different things, and they don't know how to communicate about that. They don't know sometimes really what they actually want and need, but they certainly know that what their partner wants or how their partner is predominantly sexually is not what they're wanting predominantly. So we usually have one main blueprint and then another one that's secondary. Often we can play in the realm of all the blueprints, so we might be tempted to say, oh well, I'm all of them, but actually there's usually one predominant and then one secondary. So I'm going to talk to you about these today so you can really sort of grasp and understand what it does by learning these things and by educating yourself. Is it really gives you a big understanding, like, oh, that's why I like that, or that's why that's important to me, or that's why that turns me off. And it gives you a language to have a conversation with your partner about that. Because sometimes what we can tend to do is we come from a position of blame or shame or resentment with our partner because they don't act and interact in the same way as we do. Perhaps they want different things, or something that we really love turns them off. And until we learn and have this very open and honest conversation with our partner, we tend to keep missing each other, even though we really love them and they really love us. It can start to get a little bit fraught. So I did a talk for a group of people in Kensington about 2 weeks ago, and I got some amazing testimonials after teaching them about this, because they really realized, like, wow, this has given me whole new insight into my relationship. And what it did is that it helped them to drop a barrier between them and their partner. So let's get stuck in. So these sexual blueprints are actually created, or like these archetypes were put together by a sex educator called Jaya, who is an amazing woman. So definitely go and check her out. And I'm just going to share with you these things that I've learned because they've helped me so much. So there are 5 main sexual blueprints. They're energetic, sensual, sexual, kinky, and then you've got shapeshifter. So what I'm going to do is I'll talk to you about what the positive aspects are, then what the shadow aspects are, and the shadow aspects means what the difficult parts of having this particular blueprint are. What are the things that can be problematic to you or to a potential partner? And then I'll talk to you about what the needs are, and then we'll have a talk about how these things interplay. So as you're listening, have a feel into, what do you think is your predominant blueprint? What do you think is going to be the one that really stands out for you? And there's usually one that really does stand out for you. So let me know what that is, and you can pop that in the comments if you like. So let's get cracking, shall we? So the first blueprint is energetic. So energetic people are highly sensitive. So sometimes they can even experience orgasm without even physical touch. So these are people who often can have lots of different kinds of orgasm. They might be quite aware of their orgasmic energy. They can maybe even have orgasm without touch. So like when you start working with in the realm of tantra, you can have energetic orgasm or learn to do that, or they might just experience like a spontaneous kind of orgasm. They're often more intuitive kind of people. And they really value sex as something that's more than just physical. So let me know in the comments if you feel like, oh yeah, that could be me. The shadow aspect of this, of the energetic, is that they can be very hypersensitive. So something can something can like short circuit them quite quickly. So it might be like there's a wrong touch or something that feels just off for them in that moment. It might be like the music is kind of off key, or somebody says a particular word, and we'll talk about, you know, what words to use later, and that can kind of snap them out of the turn on very quickly, and they might even get a bit snappy with it. And so these people really often need like kind of light touch and lots of anticipation. For the energetic, there's lots of energy in the space in between the two people. Later we'll talk about sexual blueprints, but for a sexual blueprint person, that would be like ridiculous concept. Like the energy's in the two bodies being together. Yet for the energetic, there's a lot of energy in the space between the two people. So that means like the eye contact, the anticipation, the breath, the teasing touch, and like energy games can be really, really enticing for the energetic blueprint. So the second one is sensual. And so if you're a sensual blueprint person, these people are often they have a high aesthetic for beauty. So they might be very creative people. These might be the interior designers, perhaps they might jewelers. It can be guys who make things with their hands, the people who you know, maybe even create jewelry or woodwork, or I don't know, any kind of like design or artistry. Perhaps they might be sensual people. So for them, the beauty and the space with where the sex is happening is actually really important. And so these people can get turned on by a scent, by a particular smell. It might be through lots of they might like lots of different kinds of fabrics, and they might feel like a orgasmic energy and a surge of like turn on through eating really beautiful, rich, sensuous foods. These are the sensual people. So I definitely have some of that. It's just not my predominant, and I'll talk to you about that later. So the shadow aspect of this is that sometimes they can have a really hard time getting out of their head, so they can get really stuck in their head. And then, and sometimes because they're stuck in the head, they can become critical. And orgasm might seem like a little bit elusive, like it might be hard to get to. They might have the experience where the orgasm is almost there and then it's gone. They can tend to worry and project a lot. And the sensual types, these are often the people who can't have sex or they struggle to have it and struggle to relax if the house is a mess, if the washing up's not been done, if you know, the bedroom's a mess. And I know people who have like sensual and kinky, like as a primary and secondary, and they can be kinky as they like, but if the bedroom is a mess and it's dirty, there's no way they're going to have sex there. They're just not turned on whatsoever. So this can be a real big thing. So we'll come back to how they think these things into place. If you know that that's you might be a predominantly sensual sexual blueprint. So their needs for these are like, for sensual people, it can be really helpful to have like a marker that shifts you from daily life into sexual life or sexual time. So it might be like you put on a particular piece of clothing. So if you're someone who, like, you know, you really get in your head, and I have some clients like this who are amazing, they're creative, they have this incredible mind, and the ability to, you know, vision and bring creative things into the physical realm. but also sometimes they can get stuck in their head a lot. They can get stuck in a fairy tale, or they can get stuck in an imaginary situation. They can get stuck analysing stuff, and then they're completely not in their body, and therefore not in sexual energy. So you might have something that works as a marker to bring you into your body, into your sensual body, and that might be, you put on a bracelet and you kind of split off from the day. It might be particular clothing or fabric that kind of moves you into a more sensual energy, so that your mind can get it, okay, we're switching into a sensual place now. So that can really help. And actually, it can really happen if you're working on shifting into masculine or feminine energy more. This can really help, like a marker, a bracelet, or something like this, that you think, okay, once this is on, I'm going to shift into that mode and practice that way of being. So for sensual people, intense sensation is really good for them. Lots of different types of sensations. So you might play with feathers, or sensual touch, soft touch, or hard touch, like really playing with the different kinds of sensations can be really great for a sensual blueprint person. So for the sexual blueprint, so this is all about sex, but someone who has a predominantly sexual blueprint, these people are like the more run-of-the-mill kind of. These are like the people who are most people have this. Sorry, I can't get my words out. Don't know what's going on. Most people have this kind of blueprint, either primary or secondary. So the sexual blueprint people love sex, genitals, orgasms. So they're very genital and orgasm focused. They might go from, naught to horny in like 10 seconds flat. They appreciate the naked body, and they're very visual creatures. And these are often more often than not, when I speak to sexual blueprint people, they're male. More than female, although absolutely there's plenty of women who have this blueprint as a primary or a secondary. And then sometimes they might come across a male partner who doesn't expect that they have this kind of sexual energy, and they're called masculine because of it, but it's not. It's just a particular blueprint. Does that make sense? It's the way that their mind and body operates. So the kind of shadow aspect of sexual blueprint people is that they can get too focused on the end goal, so they're like rushing to the finish line. So a lot of ladies complain about this when they have a sexual blueprint man, that it's like he's always in a rush, and they have to constantly slow him down. And I know for a lot of my past lovers, it's been like every single time having to remind them to slow down, like it's not a race. And it's not a rush, because then what happens is they're in such a rush and such a focus to the orgasm that they miss all the pleasure in between here and there. There's such a realm of possibility of pleasure, so much touch to be experienced, and they can have like quite a limited definition of what sex is. It's just like penetration and that's it. Anything else is not really worth having. Yet they can really miss out on so much, and they can get quite attached to the orgasm. So if the orgasm doesn't happen, they can feel a bit upset about that, and maybe get a bit stuck in the head about it. So for these people, what really works is direct genital stimulation, erotic visual stimulation, obviously orgasm, oral sex, penetration, nudity, and frequent sex as well. These people might need a lot more sex than some of the other blueprints. Some of the other blueprints might be fully satisfied with experiences of like tease and psychological tease, but not actually need penetration per se, and be fully satisfied sexually. Does that make sense? So and then which brings us to the next one, which is the kinky blueprint. And kinky blueprints, they're often very creative. They want to look for ideas. So this might be you if you feel like you're always the ones like can we do something different? How about we try this? How about we try that? What about this? What about that? And you find that you're like, you're wanting new ideas and new things to play with. And so kinky people can often use sex as a way to get into altered states of consciousness, which can be an amazing experience to experience. So if you're playing with power dynamics and subs and doms, you can have a sub space, like a submissive, like a psychological feeling that's euphoric. It's not this awful, people who don't really have much experience of kinky or are afraid of it can feel, oh, it's all bad and you're hurting people. Whereas you can bring a real consciousness into your sexuality. You can bring a real consciousness into your kink. And do this in a really beautiful way where you're assisting your partner into these incredible states of consciousness, whether through being dominant or through being submissive, and lots of other ways that you can do it with rope and constraint, with all kinds of things. So one of the kind of shadow sides with kinky blueprints is that they might make a specific fetish their only route to turn on. So what that means is, when I've worked with clients, that they have a particular thing that they like, but it's not really just a like they have to have it in order to be turned on, to be fully turned on, or to get a full sexual arousal. And what that means is it really limits them. It really limits their ability to connect sexually outside of that particular fetish. And also, kinky people can have shame about what they really desire, like what they really want and what they really like and what they really want to experience. If they're with a partner who isn't really that way inclined, it can be really difficult for them to express what they really want. So what kinky blueprints really need is like the safety and the non-judgment and just the permission to express themselves, even if what they're asking of you is something that feels really extreme. Just to be able to really express what they want is really beautiful. And also you can negotiate. Like when I was at the sex lectures the other week, I talked about this, about the ability to negotiate. When you shame someone for their desires, you really shut them down. You really you stop any possibility of being able to play in that realm. And even if you don't want to do that particular thing, from a negotiation, you might discover something completely new that you both really want to engage in. So, these people love the taboo, the playing on the edge, and psychological games as well. A really easy way to do this is like through text and through sending each other messages and building that anticipation, talking about what you want to do when you get home, and perhaps making plans to go and buy a particular costume for a role play or something like that. It can be a really exciting and fun thing to do together. And of course, you do it within the realms of what you're comfortable with. So the fifth blueprint is the shapeshifter. So the shapeshifters are fluent in all erotic type, so in all the blueprints. They really love variety and creativity. They're quite sophisticated, really. They're happy to do something that's just energetic, like not even with penetration, and really enjoy that fully. And then they can quite as easily have a kinky experience or just like a full sexual blueprint experience. It's just very genital focused and might be like hard and fast. They can equally love all of that. But the problem is they might get bored easily. And often shapeshifters move to the other person's needs, which might mean that they don't tune into their own needs as much. They don't tune into what they're really wanting at that time, because they can be flexible. They don't really sometimes cannot tune into what they really desire in an effort to please someone else, and they might feel a bit misunderstood. Like someone might see an aspect of their sexuality and say, well, that's that's what you like, where actually there's much more available to them. And often people say, oh, I'm shapeshifter, I like all of them, but the truth is very few people are actually shapeshifters. Most of us have one predominant excuse me, one predominant blueprint and one secondary, and then you might go into the other ones as well. And it's most likely that you'll be able to move through all of these realms, but that you have one predominant blueprint. So which one would yours be, if you're brave enough to share? And I know, because I see the metrics, I know a lot of people watch my videos, but they don't always comment depending on the content. So if you feel like you want to share what you think yours is, or perhaps what you think your partner's is. Perhaps you had an ex-partner and now it kind of makes more sense what they were asking for and what they were wanting. And now you've got like a better understanding. You can really think, oh, okay, so this is what it's about. And it opens the way for communication. It helps you have a better conversation about what you really like, what you really want, what you really desire, and how you can both get your needs met. Because, as I was saying before, it's like if you're a sexual blueprint person and you're repeatedly frustrated with your partner because they're moaning that the bedroom isn't tidy or the windows aren't clean, and you're like, are you crazy? Like, why do you need the windows to be clean to have sex? Shut the curtains. Right? Then it makes more sense. Like, they're not just saying something to annoy you. Like, we're all wired differently sexually. We're not all the same. As we know, we don't always want the same things. And so how wonderful is it to have a language that we can understand ourselves and understand each other? So there's energetic. I'll just quickly go through them again. There's energetic, highly sensitive, love the anticipation, the tease, the space between two people. I'm like energetic, and probably kinky is my two that kind of really play well together. I love the space in between and I'm very very intuitive, and I feel energy very deeply. So when I can feel that kind of desire, I can literally, I'm doing it now, breathe it into my body and through my body and up my body through my chakra system. I can connect. I've done tantra practices, and actually, if above this video you'll find a free masterclass which is orgasmic energy that you can do with your partner, so you can learn how to share this orgasmic energy together in a tantric way, like just by holding hands, just by sitting in front of each other. And you'll be able to, if you're a sexual blueprint or your partner's a sexual blueprint, develop that energetic part, because what it does is it enhances the energy orgasm and the ability to have orgasm all over your body. So a lot of sexual blueprint people tend to just experience orgasm in the genital area. I couldn't believe this when I first heard it. I was like, really? People experience their orgasm? What? And I was like, but how do you feel that? How do you feel something that's only just in the genitals? And I thought, well, I could feel my genital energy moving, so that would be a sensation. But for me, sometimes, my orgasms might be different on different days. It's certainly not the same, but it might be like a full body experience, or a flowing kind of experience, let's say. And that's a very feminine way to have an orgasm, as in feminine energy. So when men start to open and stop being afraid of feminine energy and allow that to open in their body, they experience so much more pleasure all over their body, because they're allowing that pleasure to move through their body. They're allowing their orgasm to go, and then they can start to have full body orgasms, start to experience waves of energetic orgasm, rather than just like a 4 or 5 second, really hard, like bungee jump kind of orgasm. My partner explains it like that. I think it's a great analogy. Like, it's just like like that. It must be an amazing feeling. And I guess that's what's like the peak, like a peak clitoral orgasm. Very much feels like it's like up and then down. But me personally, I still feel it through the body. whereas a sexual person might be just in the genitals. So why do I say this? Well, because we're not all wired the same. So when we can learn from our partner, what kind of sexual energy do they have? What can we learn from them that's going to enhance us? There can be great experiences by really just focusing on the body as well, like a sexual blueprint person, of being naked, of not needing like extra frills. I think one of the main complaints I get from people who are predominantly sexual blueprint is that their partner's like, she wants all these candles lighting and like soft mood lighting because she's sensual and the environment is very important for her, right? And he can't understand it. But when he does more of that, he's probably likely to get more sex and the kind of sex that he wants, simply by setting the atmosphere. And in the same way, the sensual blueprint can move into having, like deeper experiences in the physical body and being in the physical body through a sexual blueprint partner. Does that make sense? So if you're kinky and energetics can work quite well together if they can play with like the space and the anticipation and the build up. They can work really, really well together. So if you are energetic, it might be that you need to have a conversation and explain, like, I'm quite an energetic person. I've got a high sexual capacity, but I can short circuit. And I've definitely experienced that. Where it's like the touch is like not quite right, doesn't feel in the flow to me, or like sometimes the music will jar me. I love music while making love, but if like it suddenly changes or the vibe is wrong, I'm like, no, that needs to stop. And I will literally be like, I can't focus. I can't focus until you turn that music off, because it's distracting me, because I'm so sensitive to noise, vibration, energy, that it's like it's messing with my brain waves, and I just want to focus deeply on the person that I'm with, not the music. So I hope that's helpful for you. Let me know what you think. And when I did this the other week, like I say, where's this? Got something else I want to share with you. I did this talk for a bunch of people, and they were just like, wow, it made so much sense to them why they were having so much conflict, and also why they really needed certain things in their sex life, and they weren't talking about it with their partner, and it was causing a real rift. So I'm going to talk to you just a little bit and give you some ideas, because ever the practical that I am, and I'm just so extra, I want to give you a few ideas of how to play in the blueprints and what you can offer yourself or a partner once you've identified the blueprints to really enhance your turn on. How does that sound? So pop me a message in the comments. If you think that any human might benefit from this, please do share this video. Don't be afraid that some people say, oh my God, what if people, see that I'm watching something about sex? I'm like, you've got 3 children. People know you have sex. Sorry to break it to you. You birthed 3 children out of your own body. We all know that you have sex. It's fine. So let's make it a healthy, happy, harmonious conversation. For me, like my kind of deep dharma, like my mission and my purpose, is to raise the consciousness around love and sexuality, to have happy, healthy, harmonious conversations about love and about sex. And so we can really shift this energy of dysfunction that we've really seen on our planet. We can really shift the shame and the blame and the resentment and the hurt that a lot of us have experienced, so that we can have truly healthy, harmonious, intimate lives. Because let's be honest, we're all much nicer people, aren't we? Like when we've had great sex and when we're feeling really fulfilled, we're much happier, we're much more harmonious, we're much more likely to allow that person who was a bit rude at the train station, we're like, You're not going to ruin my vibe today because I'm feeling good. And so if all of us were in this space where we're feeling healthy, happy, harmonious, and sexually fulfilled, what an amazing world we could create together. But unfortunately, some people feel that if we talk about sex, that's something we're going to get obsessed with it. But the problem is, because we don't talk about it, many people are obsessed with it. And you can see that by how big the porn industry is. I'd rather that we have intelligent, loving, honest, open conversations about real sex as adults than be addicted to pretend sex like it's a show without clothes on. It's acting. Porn is acting without clothes on. There's a scene, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Nobody falls off the bed. Nobody farts midway by accident. Nobody clangs teeth in porn, do they? It's all very well crafted. And the reality is our real everyday sex lives aren't necessarily all well crafted, and nor should they be. Like, let's leave space for the spontaneity and the discovery together. It's such a beautiful thing. Anyway, so let's talk about the playing in the blueprint. So I want to give you a couple of ideas. So if for energetics, this is me. Energetics love eye gazing and like light breath on skin, not necessarily for me, that one. Light touch and sex meditations, like think about tantra work. And also the visualization of like energy movement. So you can do sexual energy loop. So again, if you go to my course, that free class, which is the orgasmic energy for couples, it'll teach you how to do an orgasmic energy loop. Now you can do this with your bodies not touching, but if you do when your bodies are touching, it's quite magical. And also what's beautiful that you can play as well for energetics is like if one's blindfolded or the other's blindfolded, and then you have to find your way to each other, play that game. That's all I'll say. Play that game. Sensual blueprints, slow dancing. I love a bit of slow dancing. Contact dance. I don't know if you've ever done contact dance. I haven't, but I've heard lots of people who do and they absolutely love it. And sensation, any kind of sensation for sensual people. So you might be feeding the other person. It might be like touch with silks or feathers. I would love that too. Oily, long, slow strokes. I would love that too. Sensual kissing. So from like these kind of things, you'd think I was a sensual. I am very sensual, but I know that as an energetic, if someone kind of says or touches me the wrong way, it's game over. So what else? Candlelight's really beautiful for sensual people. Like, make the room beautiful, make the environment nice. Light candles that smell good, create a nice atmosphere with lighting. A sensual person will really, really appreciate that, like more than you know, more than you could realize. For me, I don't need candles and dim lighting, but for some people that's really important and it feels really special to them. So for sexual blueprint people, just get naked. It's very simple for sexual blueprint people. Be naked. Deep kissing, direct genital touch. Like, sexual blueprint people often go straight for the genitals, and if you're not a sexual blueprint person, it can be a bit of a shock. You're like, I'm not quite ready for that yet. I need a bit more foreplay. I need a bit more working up to that. What else? Oral sex, penetration. It's all about penetration for sexuals, and so go ahead. So kinky, so there's kind of kinky physical stuff and then psychological. So the kinky psychological might be subdom games. It might be like psychological direction and restraint. So you might say, you're only allowed to do this, this, and this. You're not allowed to do anything else. Or, you're not allowed to make any noise, or you have to make all the noise in the world. And that's like the rule for the game for that night. And that's like a psychological play. And then physical stuff is more like constraint, rope, handcuffs, spanking, erotic wrestling, that kind of stuff. If that floats your boat, that might be more of a kinky thing. And then shapeshifters, obviously they can go through all of the above. There's lots of exploration, but shapeshifters will really enjoy a surprise element, that you can bring to them something different. You can bring to them the ideas for like a sex date or an evening together, or like a blueprint might really enjoy starting off with energetic or sensual and then moving into kinky, or starting off very sexual and then moving into sensual in one evening. So kind of just play with it, you know. I've given you loads and loads of information in one pretty short live, really. When I've shared this information with clients, like I say in the talks, the feedback's been amazing when you actually think about it and apply it, and then talk to your partner, like show them this video, sign up for my free classes. So above this video you'll see one that's for singles. So if you're looking for your soulmate, there's a soulmate ASAP class. So I work with stuck singles to find their soulmate, and I have an amazing success rate. Some of them are getting married, some of them got engaged, some of them have found the love of their life. So it feels really good. And for the couples that I work with, you know, they often get pregnant. What else have kind of results of my couples had? Just really reconnected their sex life. Like recently I worked with a client, and they'd not had sex for 7 months, and after one session 2 days later they had sex for the first time in 7 months, because they just needed to really clear some resentments and find the right communication. That was after just one session. So it's pretty good stuff. So if you're interested in learning more about this kind of stuff, if you're a woman and you're interested in learning more about this stuff, obviously I do one-to-one work, but also I've got a retreat coming up in 2 weeks' time. So it's up the 15th of June, and we're going to be in Cyprus, which is the island of Aphrodite, the goddess of love. So I'm really excited about that. And we're going to be together for a week, you know, doing practices around sensuality, around good communication in relationships, around reducing your stress, because stress is the biggest killer of intimacy. Really, really is. And sometimes you just need a week away so you can recalibrate. But more than this, it's not just a holiday. You're going to get tools for life that you can use that are going to improve your relationships for years and years to come, and help you feel like a goddess in your own body right now. So if that feels good to you and you'd like a week learning about this kind of stuff, so you can take it into your marriage or take it into your relationship when you find the person of your dreams, come with us. It's only 2 weeks away. I'll put a link in the comments, and pop me a message if you have any questions. I'd love to see you there. We've still got a place left. So yeah, let me know. So my name's Jay Diamond. You can find me at jaydiamond.net. The retreat's called the Reconnection Retreat, and you can go to my website jaydiamond.net and you'll find it there. Hope this has served you well, and have a really great evening.